here is our problem. Our problem is we're still living with Betty Crocker. Now, move over Martha Stewart and all those other cooks and chefs, because the new Betty Crocker looks different, all right? We look and eat differently, all right? So let's go down to the basics in the cookbook. All right, cooking basics. Yes, you need to know those cooking basics. But when you break down food by cooking it, you're doing some different things to the food, all right? You're making it into a different form. So some of those foods end up being refined. And sometimes we purchase them refined, all right? So what does that mean? The refining process means that it goes through a process of change, okay? And some of it is to the point where it affects our body systems and our blood sugar and our kidneys. They all have to respond to these refined products. And then they throw in a ton of other things that help to keep it on the shelf, right? And what do you call those things, right? There's all kinds of preservatives added to our foods to keep their shelf life. So you want to buy fresh food, right? Okay, appetizers and snacks. Okay, we're going to change this whole section. These are not appetizers and snacks. They're small meals, all right? And you want your PFFCs in those small meals, because you don't want to be diving around and dropping into a coma, because appetizers and snacks can send you right to jail. And I say that because there's a funny meme out there where a gentleman's like, you go right to jail, sends you straight to jail. No, this will send you straight to bed, all right? Or straight to the hospital. Beverages, let's change that up too. We got all those beverages. What are you relying on daily for fluids? Now, if it is a food fluid, which is anything but water, if you're adding, this stuff is junk. This is junk right here. This is not what it says it is. It says that it's an immune health support. Straight to jail, okay? That is incorrect. Look at this over here. Celsius. Now, in small amounts, you might be able to take some of this. You drink this whole can, you'll be off your rocker. And some of those monsters will send you off your rocker. Okay, you don't want to be doing that, because then you're going to send signals all through the body that you're not going to be hungry for the fiber foods, the fibrous foods, that are the plant-based foods that are coming from your garden. It's not just grains. People are so stuck on fiber as a grain. You know, you got to get out of that space. And you're saying, no, but everything goes through me. That's because you wore down the inner lining of your intestinal tract. It's not built up, and there's no traction because of what you're eating and drinking. And if alcohol is involved, you are straight to jail, straight to bed, or straight to a headache. Okay, let's go to the next section. Breads. What did we live on growing up? Quick breads, pancakes, waffles, those breads that we eat with our meals. Okay, they come from, sure, a plant-based food, which is a grain. And all those grains ended up being refined into flours. And then the impact of those flours on your intestinal tract, on your pancreas and your liver and kidneys is immense. So you have to be very aware of what this is all about. So if it was up to me, this would be straight to the garbage. Okay, cakes. Who didn't grow up making cakes? You can still make a good cake out of some almond flour or some mixed coconut almond flours. But I'm going to remind you that any nut that you eat in excess, you can develop an intolerance to, or you'll develop some connection to maybe too much calcium or whatever. Just don't overdo it with your portion sizes. So just remember that. So what do you do with all these cake recipes? I'm going to say straight to the garbage. All right, candies. Who didn't make fudge? Okay, we were making fudge. I can do fudge with avocados. Believe it or not, and chia puddings. You wouldn't believe this stuff. It's crazy and it's wonderful because they are all natural, foods that support your digestive tract, your absorption, and your immune system. 70% of your immune system is in your gut, okay? It's not only the flora, it's the bio. Remember, microbiome means all the microbes in the small bowel, SIBO, everybody's talking about SIBO or SIBO, whatever you want to call it, but that's when things become way out of balance. And then you're straight to bed or straight to the bathroom, all right? Now, all these oatmeal bars, okay, all these different types of baking things, cookies, all right, straight to bed. You'll be in bed for days. Your joints are gonna ache. Your liver's gonna ache. Everything will ache. Now, there are better ways to create these things, smaller portions, little cookie-sized things. Don't overdo it. Sometimes we're somebody who has developed this oral fixation of just constantly putting things in our mouth. You'll be straight to bed, and then you won't be able to function for the next 3 days. Now, is it easy to be sitting in front of your TV and eating that food? Okay, let's do that. Let's separate that. Let's separate that time. Put the food in the kitchen, go in and eat that food in the kitchen. Then you can go relax and watch some, maybe, a half an hour worth of whatever it is you're watching. But once you start binging and eating at the same time, you're doing a multitask, your brain is totally off, and you don't even know what you ate, right? And then before you know it, you're so overwhelmed and you can't sleep. So it affects your sleep. Remember those 5 points of awareness and the 5 W's, because let's talk more about this cookbook. Betty was busy baking. I bake every day. I cook every day, actually. Crock pot cookery, okay? So crockery cooking, that's not a bad idea. Just be aware of what quality foods you can use in place of junk food. Don't go buy the chicken that has been submerged and shot up with all these different things. There's lots of salt in there. There's a lot of different injections that they put into all these foods. So just be very aware. Try to get clean, fresh meat that is grass-fed if you can. And if you have to buy something that's rotisserie and looking for small portions, very small, that's filled with a ton of salt, sodium. Kill your kidneys, swelling, inflammation. You're just gonna feel like a piece of crap, okay? That's all there is to it. Now, desserts. Here we go. We got the cookies, we got the breads, and the desserts. You can redefine what these desserts can look like. Soon, I will be sharing this in a different way. But just think about trying to do things with less sugar, with less refined products, with less ingredients. The less you can see on there, you don't want to see a whole bunch of things on your package. Anything that shows like more than 5 or 6 ingredients has been like injected with all kinds of stuff. Eggs and cheese. Okay, we're going to go into this a little bit more when we talk personally, but eggs come from the poultry family. Cheese comes from the cow family, which is a dairy, remember? Okay, so both of these contain calcium. You're also getting calcium from greens. Just remember, you do this, you're going to end up with kidney stones and, probably some uric acid issue levels, and maybe also some gout, overdoing the proteins, overdoing too many of the same types of proteins. We do it all the time. We were raised on casseroles. Those casseroles had tons of stuff in there in addition to the protein that was being fed to us. Fish and shellfish. Okay, a lot of people have allergies to shellfish. What they're really reacting to maybe is the iodine levels. Okay, is that a bad thing? Well, yeah, if you're diabetic, it is a bad thing. If at some point, naturally sourced fish and shellfish can be very valuable to you in small doses. If you're eating shrimp every day of the week, you're going to develop a problem. If you're eating all these different types of shellfish, or if it's contaminated, you're going to develop a problem. So that goes into food safety, and we'll get to that later. Grilling. Grilling under safety. Let's talk about grilling foods. You can grill them to some degree, but I'm going to tell you, only paint them gently with oil. We are dousing our foods with a ton of different types of oils, and our body can only handle so much. Why does the gallbladder get so dysfunctional? Why does the body start slowing down? Did you ever take a think about this? What is going on that our thyroids are slowing down? We become hypothyroid, and people are putting on Synthroid all the time, and their gallbladders aren't functioning, and their liver's all problematic. Okay, grilling. Be safe, because aluminum toxicity and other safe things need to be considered with heavy metals. When you start leaching into the foods and being exposed to these metals over a long period of time, it can affect your mental health and make you feel like you're carrying a weight around on your body, because those heavy metals build up and bind in places they shouldn't be. Meat. Okay. Reliable grass-fed meat. Where do you find it? There's a lot of farmers that are now, using or cutting and offering meats to be distributed throughout the public areas, and sometimes at the farmer market. Just be wise. Sometimes we get all excited when we can buy like a ton of meat. Okay, yeah, sure, if you can freeze it, and it can be used within maybe 3 months. But if you're overbuying, most of the time you might end up wasting, especially if there's a small amount of people in your family. So be very, very careful about the meats and rotate the types of proteins, all right? Rotate those proteins. Now, a lot of people are against eating any type of meat or animal. And here's what I'm going to say to you, because I have trouble eating duck eggs. Okay, and a lot of people don't, but I just think of those duck bills. Okay, well, this happens to a lot of people. And they're like, okay, I am not going to eat that little lamb. Well, I was raised on lamb, and I love lamb. Okay, but how do we approach that and address it ethically? Some people are against it. So I say do your best to eat the fats and the good proteins of the nature around you. And there have been some unfortunate experiences with people who have avoided animal proteins, because some of those animal proteins are what we need in our body as amino acids. All right, so we need to get a variety of amino acids from our diet to incorporate and make other things happen in our body to open up the pathways and also help our detoxing organs work and function, because you got to support them with some strength, okay? Pasta. All right, straight to diabetes. That's it. Pasta. There's all kinds of pastas out there. There are tons of different types of pasta. They're coming up with pea protein pasta. Well, because my daughter was allergic to soy from infancy, we put her on soy formula, and then she developed the peanut allergy, which I know that IgM marker may have, transferred those antibodies to her. and to the other kids, they're all allergic to nuts. Okay, so they think that is the biggest problem when some of these refined things like pasta might be the underlying problem with the sugars. Okay, so you got to get these homocysteine levels under control. You got to get some of these inflammatory markers down with some of those other foods you're relying on. And I know that it's hard for some people to get up and drink a little bit of black coffee, or a little bit of like some small amount of milk, but that's got to be part of your meal. All right. You can't be like sipping on that all day. You're asking your body to perform duties in between meals. So think about that thing. Okay, so pasta probably send you straight to the hospital or straight to jail. Pies and tarts, wait a minute. Okay, baked apples, baked pears, oh mamma mia. You can bake so many good fruits. You don't need all that extra stuff. You can do it with a little bit of fats. You can add your different types of seeds, and there's a lot of different types of good mixes that have the omega-3s, the omega-6s, and you can just sprinkle it on your baked fruit. And then maybe cook a little bit with some coconut oil, okay? A lot of people were saying, oh, I can't have coconut. I can't have this, I can't have that. Their inflammation is overreactive. They are healing. They're still in a phase where they're still not, their stress levels and their cortisol levels are all over the place probably. So pies and tarts, you can do it, but I would skip the crust, okay? Let's just go to something. You can do a lemon nut sprinkle over top. Oh my gosh, it's so good. There's a lot of things. We're talking about poultry here in the next section. Poultry, what do we know about poultry? There's all kinds of birds that are considered poultry, right? So remember that eggs and chicken are part of the same family. And some of those proteins, there's calcium in there. There's all kinds of different types of minerals that come with your foods, okay? So if you're overdoing 10 million eggs, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to eat all these eggs. All right, well, your calcium levels can still be affected, okay? So it is good to get the protein in there. And a lot of people are protein deficient because they're on a very high carbohydrate diet, which shoots those estrogens way off the charts and then causes cholesterol issues, and you're dealing with a whole new ballgame. Okay, now, salads and dressings. Ooh, I have some fun things with salads and dressings. Now, do a naked salad and then play around with some different ideas. Real quick, I'm going to show you. You can do a lot of different things. You can go buy something called green goddess dressing. Okay, this is all natural. Lemon juice, chives, basil, and garlic. Okay, these are vegan. You can zip up some red peppers and add some seasonings to that. Maybe just a little bit of Mediterranean type seasonings, and make it into a puree and just put it over your salad. And then also you can add some olive oil to one of these shots. Okay, so today maybe you're going to do an elderberry, ginger, and turmeric shot. Just add a little bit of olive oil and pour it over your salad. That's a great way to use different shots for salads. Soups and stews, my favorite. I love soups, stews, and chilies. And also, I want to share this. Thomas Jefferson was all about soups, stews, and salads. So when you think about soups and stews, you just don't want to overdo it. You know, corn has been in our livelihood for years because we have cornfields everywhere. Soy was always all over the place too. But most people rely on corn, and corn is a carbohydrate. So you got to remember, if you're passing corn kernel, whole corn kernels, and you're seeing it come out the other end, it's not a good sign, all right? Look, carbohydrates, complex carbs, they're different than the simple carbs, but corn and peanuts very high on the mold list. So you might have a mold intolerance, and maybe that'll also affect your mental health. So you might want to be careful about adding corn and pasta to your soups and stews. Now, I'm telling you, we loved stew. I loved beef stew. I loved making whole chickens with some potatoes and veggies and root vegetables. Delicious. And put some rosemary and whatever seasonings you want. You can use different bouquets of seasonings, and it's delicious. Now, when it comes to vegetables and fruits, we already talked about pies. So we're talking about doing things with a lot of different types of vegetables. And, some vegetables are like in that fruit section, like a tomato. Some people, it's a fruit. I learned a lot about how these are crossed through, what we term them as. And some of the stone fruits and the strawberries and things, they're called goitrogens. What about these goitrogens? They tend to make the thyroid get enlarged. And what they know about some of those foods, they're also called the dirty dozen. They're part of the dirty dozen. Now, there's pesticide issues related to some of those fruits, okay, and depending on where they're grown and how they're farmed. So just remember that. And the soil. You want to remember the soil, because the minerals in the soil affect the fruit. And then if you're getting too much of one type versus another. Another thing you want to remember about vegetables is that there are different tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant are considered a specific type of food that is a nightshade. And those nightshades might have different effects on you. If you were born and raised Italian and you were drinking sauce every Sunday with your pasta, a lot of people still that aren't Italian love sauce. So some of those things have turned into, and they added sugars to so many of those tomato pastes and tomato sauce, and it just ruined the whole flavor. So just remember that when you go through one of your cookbooks, to really think about how much you're cooking, what you're combining, how these different combinations might affect you internally, how it affects your detoxing organs, and also what you're not eating. Okay, a lot of people are relying on one section of this book, like I did. I loved cakes, and I loved pies, and I loved cookies. So, but I also did love cooking with my mother. So these are things that you can incorporate, take out, or let's replace some of the things that are causing disturbances in your gastrointestinal system with newer, higher quality foods. Diane Greco-Allen, pain, food management coach, and also mental health advocate for those that are dealing with all kinds of, mental health issues. These are very connected to some of our food relationships growing up, what we love about our body, what we don't love about our body, how we nourish and feed ourselves, and mindful eating. Have a great day, and I hope that you learned something from this little quick Betty Crocker tip book. Thanks. Bye.